I've always said success for me isn't earning heaps of money and not having any time to enjoy it or to spend with my family. Success for me is having enough money that I live really, really comfortably and able to do all the things I want to do whilst not sacrificing my life as a dad. Because at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to remember how much money I made. And everyone says it. Money is infinite. And if you are infinitely chasing money, you're going to be infinitely unhappy if that's your goal.
All right, here we got it. We've got episode 1. We've got our first guest. And before I introduce the guest, I've got to actually say this is not my twin. This guy, yes, you've probably seen him on telly since 2017, 18 seasons on the Global Box, former TikTok executive, led partnerships and brand business in Australia. Actually then left corporate in 2025, now a content creator, media advisor, speaker, co-host of another podcast, the Dads and Doc podcast. He's a husband. He's a father of 2. He's Lebanese. He is my twin, Matty.
Hey, if you go on, if you type in Matty Fahd on Temu, you pop up.
Nah, come on, man. Come on, mate. Alibaba. No, wait, it's an absolute pleasure. Actually is.
So to be here, I'm honored that I'm the first guest.
Well, I mean, you were my closest person to on my phone. I was like, you know what? Who's going to be my guest? So I was like, you live in Kingsgrove. We're in Kingsgrove right now. You got to make it happen. And we run on Thursdays.
When you're on episode 350 in Hollywood somewhere, you remember who you first get.
I'll get one, don't worry. I promise you. But man, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, obviously, we know that the turning point is all about telling people about inspiring stories and where people turned a corner. We'll go down into that route in a second. I want people to get to know you a little bit before Gogglebox. All right, people have probably seen you on socials and know that Matty Fahd. But I want you to go back a little bit more before that. Give us a bit more of an understanding of who Matt was before he jumped on a couch and got on TV.
That's a big question. Yeah, know where to start.
Well, give us your 20s.
Okay. So I grew up in Sydney. Yeah. I grew up in a suburb called Peakhurst in kind of south of Sydney to Lebanese immigrant parents. My mum came out here in her 20s. My dad came here when he was about 3 years old, so he's been here quite a while. My grandfather came here with absolutely nothing. He started off with a suitcase full of random goods and he used to go door knocking and sell those random goods. There was a name for that occupation back then. I can't remember it, but he sold random goods, door knocking around that area for years, saved up enough money to open up a small fruit and veg store, which became a bigger fruit and veg store on the street that I grew up on until I was 16. Turned into multiple stores on that street. And then he tragically died in his early 50s getting run over out front of my house. Oh, wow. So I never got to meet him. He was dead before I was born. My dad.
Is that?
Yeah, my dad's dad. My dad being the eldest son, took on a lot of that responsibility. I grew up I always say that, there is, people say, oh, you're lucky. When you hear someone say to someone else that they're lucky, for me, generally, it's not luck. It's often when they've got success, it's hard work. But I do believe there is some luck in life, and that is being born into a family that loves you. I was never given anything. I didn't have anything flashy growing up. I didn't inherit a business. I didn't have a lot of money. But I was blessed to be born into a family that loved me. Mm-hmm. And I had an incredible upbringing with my 3 siblings as well. I've got a older brother who also looks like one of our twin, and then 2 older sisters. And I grew up in Peakhurst. When I moved to Melbourne for a couple of years in my mid-20s, lived there, wanted to experience a different city.
What were you doing there?
So I was working in media at the time. So as you mentioned in the intro, I worked in the media industry for 18 years. Yeah, media and marketing industry. I started off in media agency land, which my role was predominantly buying, planning and strategizing how major brands in Australia spent their money. So generally a big brand in Australia will have a creative agency who comes up with what the ad's going to look like. They produce it, they shoot it, they do all the casting, they do all that sort of stuff. And then once the ad's produced, they give it to a media agency who tells them where to buy it. If you're targeting 18 to 25-year-olds with this particular product, this is where you should put it. These are the TV shows you should buy ads in. This is how you should buy social media and the targeting you should put on social media.
Right.
These are the billboards you should buy, et cetera, et cetera. So I worked in kind of consulting on media buying and planning for a long part of my career before then moving to the media side and then working for the actual media company. And so I worked for REA Group as their sales director for 4 years, and then moved to TikTok to head up their ads business for 4 years as well.
So when did you start with TikTok?
Started in TikTok, so I want to say it was it was still COVID. So I want to say 2021 maybe.
Yeah.
So when I started remotely, like at home, because there was no office.
Yeah.
We're in full lockdown. And it was an interesting time to start. But when I started at TikTok, my job was, okay, hey, we need to make advertising revenue in Australia now. We've opened up an Australian office, and we need to get the major brands in Australia understanding how to create content for TikTok, what's going to work, how to run ads, and show them the value that TikTok is able to provide their brand. And my role was to go speak to the chief marketing officer at the biggest brands in the country and try to tell them that, hey, all this stuff that you've learned before about hi-fi content and highly produced aesthetics, and throw it out the window.
Yeah.
You know, TikTok is about lo-fi, authentic storytelling. It's no longer the beautiful food, the beautiful ab shot. Yeah, it's the real life story, and that's what made TikTok successful. And it was the first social media platform that wasn't based on a social graph. It was based on a content graph, which now all the others are trying.
I was about to say, because Instagram has really taken that on board now, where it's the non-polished, it's the real shit that's really popping off and doing well on ads and organic.
Yeah, and now you can easily say, hey, whatever's going to work on TikTok's going to work on YouTube Shorts, and it's also going to work on Instagram Reels, because both of those platforms have now tried to copy TikTok and how they set up their algorithm. On Instagram, and this is still the case in some respects, but not as much so, but on Instagram for a very long time, you'd see 10% of your friendship circle, their wedding, their kids' announcements, all that sort of stuff. It was very social. You're DMing your mum, you're DMing your dad, you've got your whole family on there. It is very social about the people you know, and that's the content you're being served. Yeah. TikTok flipped that on its head. It was not about the people you know. Me and you may follow each other, but you're into cars and I'm into the footy, and I'm not into cars and you're not into the footy, right? So I'm posting stuff about the footy and you don't like it, watch it, engage with it. You will never see my content. You will actually see strangers' content way more than mine.
Yeah.
So it was built on the things you like, not who you knew. And that was the clear differentiation of TikTok when it launched and what made it so successful, which now everyone is trying to replicate.
100%. It's actually happening right now on Instagram. I actually enjoy my feed now because it's things I like.
Yeah.
Versus random crap.
And it changes very quickly. And I'm noticing now, because TikTok used to be, well, it still is. TikTok was very fast to change your algorithm based on what you're searching. You search one video. If you're in the market for a new camera, within a few seconds, your feed is now all of a sudden serving you camera content of people who are using different cameras.
Absolutely.
Instagram, there was a bit more of a lag, but I'm now starting to notice that I'm going overseas next week. And I've been starting.
Why, man? Where are you going?
I'm going to London to see the Gunners lift the trophy. I'm a massive Arsenal supporter. I've been waiting 27 years for this moment, so I'm not going to miss it.
I don't know. I think the last 5 posts you've done has been Arsenal. You've got your wife and Arsenal jersey.
Yeah. We're in the pointy end. It could still go pear-shaped.
Oh, no.
But I booked my ticket now, so it hasn't even there. Anyway, on Instagram, just because I've searched out where to stay in London, hotels in wherever, instantly my feed has changed. Yeah, just similar to TikTok. So you can see them starting now to 100% change.
Yeah, funny enough, I'm going to the Cook Islands. Now everything's coming up at the Cook Islands.
But not in the Cook Islands.
Just got back from Mother's Day for Vanessa. Oh, yeah, it's just something different, man. So
how is it for yourself for Vanessa? I like that.
No, yeah.
Try that one.
Yeah, of course. It's how I do gifts now. It's like, how can I get something in return? Sorry, Vanessa. But so we've kind of gone through life before TikTok and everything like that in Gogglebox, which is fantastic. But let's go down to how we met then.
Okay, you're right.
Because we got that question asked when you came through the doors, like, how did you guys meet? And it's fair because I think that was a turning point. And you mentioned it. You started your new career in 2021-ish, which was COVID. And then that's when we met. You were walking around the park doing laps on your phone. And I was like, that guy looks like me. Then a client of mine goes, that's Matty from Gogglebox. And I was like, let me just go have a chat with you. So I just said to you, come and do some weights with me if you want. And you're like, yeah, I'll think about it, man. Took my number and then 3-4 months down the line, you then contact me. Took you a while. You're hard to get. But in saying that, what was like the turning point for you? Like, why did you say, yeah, I'll engage with this guy and actually go lift or do some sessions with him?
I figured we're cousins. Has to support the family. Gave the money like looking in the mirror 10 years ago.
Well, I believe it. I don't know. You must be maybe too.
But I'm trying to remember, but I think when someone, particularly a stranger, approaches you in the park, I remember running in the park every day because the gyms were closed and the only fitness I could do was running, and I hate running. So I would be there like kind of trying to get through for run. It's probably the only time in my life where I was consistently running.
Wow.
And I remember you just setting up all your gym equipment randomly in one corner of the park and there were people there training with you. And then we spoke that day and I'd see you again, and we spoke a couple of times after that. And then I thought, you know what, it's probably not a bad idea to get some personal training through this time, consider I'll go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You look like a fit dude that knows what to do with a short Lebanese body. So I thought, I just like crack. And then, yeah, we started training in your garage.
Yeah.
Is that illegal? Can we say that we trained in your garage?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I can't remember the terminology that we're using, but
Paying business tax out of the garage.
no, yeah, of course I was. I had everything set up legally. No, but that's, I think for me, that was a turning point in terms of like just getting out of my comfort zone, talking to someone that's out there, in the limelight, has a big following, and just get yourself in front of people. But one of the things I want to kind of go down for you was your turning point, right? So we spoke a little bit about how long you spent in corporate. 18 years?
Yep.
That's like almost my age. So 18 years in corporate. Now, what are you doing?
So right now I'm a full-time content creator. Obviously still doing the television show.
Yep.
And doing some strategic advisory around some businesses that I'm involved in.
Okay. Was that easy?
No, it wasn't.
So tell me the mindset then, because that's not easy. For someone that's got a family of two, a wife, a mortgage, going through renovations at the time, I know you were. What was your mindset like going from a secure gig for 18 years to now just let's take this plunge and go full-time?
Yeah, I think when you think about the kind of modern social media landscape, a lot of the people who are making a career from purely that, obviously I've been blessed to have the TV component as well as that. But I think a lot of people are coming up now to make a career from being a content creator in some form and offering some value in some way through that kind of avenue. And a lot of them are young, and they're able to build from the ground up and go. They don't have a family relying on them, a big mortgage, daycare fees, all those sorts of things. So it was a decision that I didn't take lightly, and I probably was ultra conservative in making. I think a lot of people, when I've been doing Gogglebox for 8 years, and working corporate.
Yeah.
If you imagine the amount of people over those 8 years going, why the hell are you here? Like, you're on TV. Why have you pulled up to a corporate job? And there was probably a couple parts to it. One is that I built my corporate career over many, many years and was in a position and a role that I loved. To be able to bring the ad product for TikTok to this market was like my dream role. It was social media. It was a new platform that worked. It was exciting. It was in the end really sought after. I had the ability to take it from single $1 million to hundreds of $1 million business.
And that's pretty like rewarding, fulfilling as well, man, to be able to say that.
So fulfilling. And, just because I was on a TV show and just because now I'd started to invest my time into socials and content creation, I didn't feel like the need to give up the career that I had worked so hard to build.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started to feel that I wasn't being able to deliver my best on all avenues. And
Why do you think that was though? Like, why do you think?
I think there was, I was trying to do too much, and my social media side and my entertainment side was growing.
Yeah.
And my career was also growing. And with that became more and more responsibility, bigger teams, bigger budget, bigger business to run, more traveling, more big speaking opportunities, big keynote talks, those sorts of things that required me to work overnight. And for a lot of people who work at TikTok, they work bloody hard, right? And then I would then go home and film a television show for 4 hours and then wake up in the morning and film on the weekend and film my own content. Then I'd spend Sunday editing it. And in between all that, I had to try to be a father to two young kids and a good husband. So I felt like it was getting to a point where I didn't feel, and maybe I was very self-critical. I'm probably my own biggest critic, but I didn't feel like I was doing great at anything. I felt like I was surviving and not thriving. And so at that point, I thought, okay, is this now the time? Because I couldn't grow my business, my personal business, without giving something up because I'd run out of hours in the week. And then the other thing that kept happening was there'd be other opportunities to dive into other businesses that I just couldn't take up because, again, I just didn't have any more hours to give. So I felt like whilst I was making incredible money, I got to a ceiling where I thought, I want to do more.
Yeah.
And I can't because it's now a time pressure. I've got no more of myself to give. How do I lift the ceiling, right? And the only way I could see myself lifting the ceiling, which kind of seems counterintuitive, was to remove the largest salary I was receiving. And by far, right, our biggest family salary came from my corporate job. I was on a big corporate salary. And but it was also the biggest time commitment.
Yeah.
And so by removing that out, taking a pay cut in the short term and allowing myself a higher ceiling now to work towards is where I ended up. But thankfully, I've been in a position where I haven't felt like I've had to sacrifice anything or I haven't felt that pinch so much because there's probably a couple things. Two things that have happened since then, just purely from the content creation side, is that I allowed my wife to say yes to more things.
Yep.
She carried a lot of the weight for taking care of our children. She couldn't do jobs that were out of town. She couldn't do jobs that required her in the middle of the day on a Saturday. There was a lot of because I wasn't there. I was on a plane somewhere. I was doing something for work. So, and she saw as well. And so she wanted to do her best to help me because she saw what I was doing. Sarah's the only one that really, truly saw what I was doing every day, day in, day out.
Yeah.
And so she wanted to help, but at the same time, that put a limit on her. So by me stepping back, it meant that, hey, don't worry, I can take the kids to school that morning. You go. She was in Paris a couple of weeks ago for a work thing with L'Oreal. Normally should have to say no. So, it allowed her to earn more money and it allowed me to focus my time and energy into my own business, which allowed me to earn more money from that world.
Yep.
And collectively, we're able to keep going and thrive whilst getting a whole bunch of time back, whilst getting some life balance, whilst being able to have intentional time with my children.
For sure, man.
And that is, I don't take it for granted. After doing what I was doing for so long, I realized how crazy it is now that I'm out of it.
Yeah.
And I actually had time to sit and think, spend hours with my kids and pick them up from school and take them to soccer practice and do the things that a lot of dads get to do and I just didn't get to do. So, it is like a true blessing. I hope it continues forever. I've always said success for me isn't earning heaps of money and not having any time to enjoy it or to spend with my family. Success for me is having enough money that I live really, really comfortably and able to do all the things I want to do whilst not sacrificing my life as a dad. Because at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to remember how much money I made. And everyone says it.
Yeah, man.
Money is infinite. And if you are infinitely chasing money, you're going to be infinitely unhappy if that's your goal. And yeah, I've never set money as my primary goal. It is always secondary.
Look, if you're listening to this, there's been a couple of golden nuggets and I don't want you to miss it. One of the things you said was you had to remove something and one of them was your biggest salary. I think sometimes we think we just got to put more on the plate to get successful, but it actually is subtraction. What can you take off the plate to allow you to eat more? And for you, it was about removing the thing that took up your most time, even though it gave you the most money, but eventually allowed you to take on more opportunities, but it allowed you to actually spend more time doing the things that you really wanted to do, right? Which was be a great father And then talk to me a little bit more about your health then. Like I know, because I was obviously coaching you a lot at the time. When you were working in corporate, you were super busy, flying in, flying out, trying to juggle just life. You were always getting sick, man.
Always.
But
I had,
tell me,
you know, I've always had a really bad immune system. Don't know why. Just maybe it's too many antibiotics as a kid. Back then when they were giving them out like
lollies, yeah.
But I've had a terrible immune system. And so then you combine that with a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Kids in daycare.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, where we went 2 years in lockdown without getting any sicknesses. So then no built up immunity to anything. And then we went back out into the world and got hit with 100 things. So a combination of those things. I remember having particularly 2 really tough years where I thought I was losing my mind. I was going to see doctors going, you have to tell me that I must be dying.
Yeah.
I must have something severely wrong with me. I've been sick every month. I had a year where I got sick 10 months out of the 12. I had 10 different viruses.
Was that the year that you got COVID on Christmas, is it?
Yep. Got COVID on Christmas. I remember starting notes in my phone because I started to log them because I wanted to show the doctors, like, how can this be normal? And I'd go to the doctor and like, yeah, it's pretty normal right now. And I'm like, it can't be normal. Like, this is ruining my, I had to say no to gigs that I was meant to be an MC of a massive event, right? And I was the MC. And the night before my flight to whether it was, I had to cancel and got influenza A. Was in bed for 4 days, like a 40-degree fever. So I had these really tough years of just trying to survive, having young children, being sick all the time. You know, you felt like you were drowning. Yeah, I'm doing 100 things. 3 days out would be the end of me because it would mean the next 3 days we're just working till 2 a.m. to catch up. So it was horrible. So I have felt definitely in the last year a lot healthier.
Yeah.
Touch wood, I haven't been sick. And when I have, it's kind of been much more mild. Spent more time and energy in understanding my health.
Yeah.
I've just gone through a whole health journey. Everlab, yeah, crazy. So done CT scans, gut biome tests, genetic testing, done physical exam, I've done DEXA scans, I've done the works, I've eaten a lot more consistently. And I've also given up alcohol for a large portion of that time as well. So it was always hard to give up alcohol. I would never have classified myself as a big drinker. I wouldn't drink Monday to Friday. I shouldn't say Monday to Friday. Monday to Thursday or Friday morning.
Yeah.
And then, in my industry, a lot of my work was taking people on lunches and drinks and it was kind of expected that you're going out for a celebratory lunch or you're taking a client for lunch and you're going to have a drink. And so I often wouldn't have 10 drinks, but I would definitely have 2 or 3 at a lunch like that. And it was hard to kind of get out of that lifestyle when that was your job. So stepping away from that again allowed me to give up alcohol. So last year I did the first 6 months, I started create these rules for myself.
But that's good, right? You need to set some kind of boundaries.
Yeah, little challenges that have actually had obviously a meaningful impact on my life, but it's also actually had a meaningful impact on some of my friends' lives because I'd start thinking, go, guys, this is what I'm doing. Pick out a random challenge. Last year it was the first 6 months of the year, no alcohol. And a couple of my mates said, I'll do it with you. And they've done it. And then they've not drunk since.
Is it been one of them?
Yeah, well, I think, I can't take credit. She did that on her own, but just got a couple of mates who are now not touched alcohol in 18 months after drinking every single weekend since that challenge. So I think once you go 6 months and not drinking, you're like, oh, I kind of don't want to drink now. You haven't set this expectation yourself, but I remember getting to the back half of that 6 months and going, I'll be out somewhere. I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like drinking. Like I've not drank this long. I don't really need it. And so then this year I was like, okay, how do I step change it? And so this year I'm doing 12 months no alcohol.
This year?
Yeah, this year. So 12 months no alcohol whilst I'm in Sydney.
Okay.
So
London?
Charlie.
Arsenal?
Yeah.
You're getting blind.
I can if I want to, but I probably won't. Like I just went to, where was I? I went away to Alice Springs for work.
Yeah.
And I'll be in Alice Springs. I'm like Sydney. Like I can drink.
Yeah.
I had one drink with dinner and that's all I felt. So like it kind of, it makes you feel like you don't really want to drink. The only times in those first 6 months, the year before that I want to drink was when I was on holiday overseas, sitting by a pool or in a villa somewhere. So I realized, okay, well, I'm not going to define myself about, I don't go on holiday too often. I'll just do that. And so this year, that's my goal.
I love it. And again, I know that when we were training, that was one of the critical kind of drivers for you to make that shift, was that you put a big emphasis on your health, and you're like, well, if I'm not healthy, like that's part of my wealth. That's part of my success plan. Is like, I need to be healthy. I need to be present for my family, and I don't have the energy to bloody be my best.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a big mover for you, because you realized how high stress you were and how much you just weren't getting the output out either, because you would always be in that vicious cycle of like, you take 3 days off because you're sick, but then you have to work late mornings, and it's just a vicious cycle to be in. So we've kind of gone through the journey now of like where you were when you started, and then we've gone through that bit of a turning point. Now, when you were in corporate though, like I know you, like, you know, like you are not your typical corporate guy wearing the button ups and the ties to work. Surely like you being on social media, on TV, gave you a little bit of upper hand when you were in corporate, right? Like you had your personality, but did you also bring that personality to corporate? And how did you do it?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think with confidence in myself and my abilities in my career, I think that answer changed over time. I think
what made you build that confidence then within yourself?
I think a proven track record, and I think age and maturity as well. I think I grew up in a and the fact is, in a lot of corporate environments, there's not a lot of people who look like me, who came from my background, immigrant parents who have a beard and tattoos, and that comes with a stigma. And I think with that, for my younger years, you kind of like, I'm different to everyone else. I'm going to try and cover that up a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to not show my tattoos, or I'm going to go ultra corporate to kind of make up for the fact that I look like an Arab.
Yep.
I'm going to make people feel more comfortable around me and not make them feel uncomfortable by doing something that could be perceived as being Arab. I'm going to rock up to work with kibbeh and eat up, right? And I think when I was in my early 20s, starting my career in a very white industry with white bosses and, white colleagues that don't quite understand my culture or don't want to understand in some instances as well. I remember rocking up to a job once and having my backpack there, and a bloke walking past going, "Don't leave your backpack unattended next to the elevator." Right? Like as a joke. Yeah, see, I didn't know the guy. I'd been there for like 2 days.
Yeah, I get you.
So growing up in that, and then getting to a point where I was comfortable in myself, and also my ability to then start to lead, I guess, versus follow. And I think, in the latter ends of my career, probably the 8 years versus the first 10, that was something that I brought with me. Yeah. And it was very loud and proud. And I didn't dress a certain way to appease anyone. I rocked up to work, even though I was the boss, in a hat, tattoos out, didn't care. I encourage people to be themselves, dress themselves. We're not in finance. I'm not a stockbroker.
Yep.
I work in marketing. This is how I dress. And don't get me wrong, if I'm going to meet the global CEO of a huge company in a big pitch, I'm not going to rock up with a hat. No, I wasn't stupid. But day to day in the office, I'd be known as hat, t-shirt, runners, and each to their own. Come in how you feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I needed to be something different. I really celebrated culture and diversity. Everyone should feel comfortable to come to work, and anyone who ever worked in one of my teams would probably, I'd hope, say that it was something that was always celebrated, to come in and be yourself.
Yeah.
In saying that, when you work in corporate, especially now, there's a fine line between being yourself to being abrupt or offensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that is probably, particularly now, one of the hardest things about corporate, and probably a part of corporate that I don't love, to be honest, because I'd rather people be 100% of themselves. But if they've got a type of personality where they can shoot from the hip and say things that can be sometimes seen as offensive, it can come back to bite them. And so you kind of also have to tread this line of be yourself, but don't be offensive. And if you're having a bad day, that's cool. Go home. People are allowed to have a bad day. You're allowed to be struggling. Go home. Don't take it out on other people.
Yep.
There's no excuse for it to not showing up as your best self. Come in, say good morning, say hello, be nice to your colleagues. No one wants to deal with a dick regardless of what you're going through. Everyone's got their own problems.
100%. I was going to say though, man, like, do you reckon you got the best results out of your career when you were unapologetically you? It was like putting a facade up?
Yes, I think authenticity is what's expected from a leader these days. People want transparency. I think being honest, being transparent, being yourself, not putting on some sort of facade. I think it's really important because then people feel like, okay, well, look, he's doing that. I can be myself. I think when people are comfortable to be themselves is where where they're happy, where they can perform the best. Where they're trusted is another big thing. I think, we've come from a kind of a place where there was very little trust, and then COVID hit and people working from home, and are they working? Are they not? And ultimately, you have to trust someone. And I always say to myself, I want you to assume the best from me, and I'm going to assume the best from you.
Yeah.
And it should always start that way, because otherwise you're never going to give everyone a chance. If you think something bad about someone from the very start, guess what? They're going to become bad in your eyes.
Absolutely.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. Always assume the best. I'd say to my team, the great thing working in a sales environment in corporate is that I don't do well unless you guys do well. You guys don't do well unless I do well. We are one team. It's kind of, I take more leadership motivation from sport, given what I'm so crazy about. So that was our next question. Then I do from, corporate leadership books, because, working as a team is critical in modern corporate. You have to assume that I want the absolute best for you. I don't want to performance manage you out. I don't want to have these really difficult, hard conversations. I'm willing to have those hard conversations, and I will have hard conversations, but I don't want to have them. And I will give you feedback in real time. So never make assumptions that doesn't like me.
Yeah.
That thinks I'm not doing a good job. All these stories you start to tell in your own head, because you've got your own judge, and everyone's got their own judge in their head. So don't confuse your own judge. And I used to tell people to name their judge. Call them Jeff, right? That's Jeff. That's not me. I never said that to you. I never said I don't believe in you. Didn't say that. So don't assume that.
But do you think that assumption is their own triggers though? Sometimes, that assumption that's going in their head may have been a trigger that they had in the past, or maybe how they have treated someone else in the past as well. So they're now assuming that maybe that's the leader you're going to be as well.
It can be a previous boss and experience.
Yeah.
It can be a generalization of a type of person. It can be it can be their own insecurity, their own, that's how long I haven't been in corporate.
That's okay.
Going on. Syndrome. What do you call it? Imposter syndrome. Yes. So it can be their own imposter syndrome talking. There's so many reasons, but if you come into every interaction, assume the best out. I've come into a role where my boss, but the previous person who reported into that boss, has told me that guy or girl is the worst human being ever. They did X, Y, Z thing, but you're like, great, this is who I'm about to start.
Especially if it's coming from a credible source like that.
Yeah. I'm about to go and report into them. Guess what? Go in there, clean slate.
Yep.
I'm not going to take on that person's good view of that person until I have my own experience. Have a great time. Right?
And I think that is so valuable there, because it's like, there's actual studies out there that show that we are in a trust recession. Like, we're actually losing trust more than ever before because of COVID times, and now AI, and everything just is fake around us. But when you just get out there and experience it yourself, whether it's with a person, whether it's with a place, a business, a service, you make your own judgment, right? And I think that's critical there, because like you said, you could go into that bloody room and already have an assumption, and it changes the way you deliver your note or your speech or whatever you're doing with that person, and it changes the whole trajectory afterwards.
And in modern times, there's not a lot of businesses who are just kind of super relaxed and so successful that they don't care about performance. Like, we're at a time where everyone is very accountable for their role, and there's a lot of redundancies. There's a lot of bad side, right? So the truth is that once you're in a workforce, well, I'm not a school teacher, right? So I don't want to be a school teacher. So you are an adult and you've got your business to run, whether you're a developer, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're whatever role you're in, you're running your own small business.
Yeah.
And there are going to be really clear indicators of whether you're doing a great job of that or not. So if you want to go at 3 p.m. every day for a surf, I used to say this out loud to my team, I would never apologize to anyone in here when I need to leave here at 3 o'clock to go pick up my kids from school. I won't apologize. When I go to the gym at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, you're going to see me walking around the office in my gym gear. I'm not going to hide it. I don't expect you to hide it. I don't expect you to tell me when you're going to the gym. I don't expect you to tell me when you're picking up your kids from school. I don't care. There is only one thing I care about, and that is the results that you put in for the team. And over time, if you are going to the gym more than you are working, when you're working from home, it will begin to tell, as you will be out of a job and we'll have to have a really hard conversation, and that's on you. But until then, I trust you.
Mad.
And so that's it.
Mad. I love that.
And that's how you have to lead in modern times, because you can't see what they're doing at home. A lot of business owners hate working from home mentality. As a leader in corporate, as a human, I loved it.
Yep.
As a person who wants to see women in the corporate space have the same advantages as men, incredible. Do you know what one of the biggest equalizers are for women? The fact that they can work from home. Because before, really, you go speak to a lot of mums who had good corporate careers. You could be a good mum, or you could have a good corporate career, and you had to choose. No one ever has to make that choice. And by working from home and being able to pack their lunch and pick their kid up from school and help them with their homework at 4 o'clock and then work again at 6 and 7 o'clock, it was a great equalizer in their career to men. So there are so many incredible things about working from home, but it is built on trust.
I understand.
And some people can't handle that trust, and they can't handle that flexibility because they need someone to have their eyes on them. And
they need it.
They need that.
And I think that's the double-edged sword there, right? Is like you can have your trust and you can have your flexibility, but we still need the outcome. And it's great that you mentioned that. I literally had that conversation with my manager where I said, I couldn't give a shit. Like, you've got your hours. I put you on the gym floor. Outside of that, don't care. You work your hours as long as you get the outcome. Don't just be busy. Don't just feel like you're doing a lot of good stuff, but there's no outcome off the back of it. So you got to make sure that, again, we use the word productive, but it's more so just get the outcome. Do it in 20 hours, great. Go surf, go do whatever you want for the next 20 hours after that. But just get the outcome. Because you're right, like, people are so kept accountable now. Like, there's so many ways to trap people, right? Through AI systems and then, through everything else. So it's great that you mentioned that piece.
On that quickly, and, if you're setting goals for your business or your employees, it's really easy to reward effort. But at the end of the day, effort doesn't mean shit. Yes, it's a nice thing to go, oh, okay, he's putting in us, but ultimately you need to reward results. If you have people going, doing that performance reviews and going, I did 150 meetings this month, right, with our external clients. But your results were 70%.
Like, the conversion rate just wasn't there. Yeah.
So what you are spending too much time out doing busy work with clients who aren't converting, rather than focusing on 50, you're going to probably spend more money.
Yep.
So effort isn't enough. If you can get to the same thing with less effort, I prefer that. Oh. So, yeah.
I mean, every boss, leader, whatever you want, would love that as well. So, yeah. Now, I want to dive into the support element. Now, making that transition from corporate to what you're doing now, you can't do it without having good support, right? Having that confidence around who's around you to be able to take those big plunges. tell me a little bit more about like the relationship between you and your wife, like Sarah. You're obviously both in that media world as well. Like, how do you guys juggle being the husband and wife, being the mum and father, but then also being the media, the content creators? Like, how do you balance that?
Look, first thing I'll say is that Sarah is like the most supportive wife ever. Like, I was umming and ahhing about going to London, and she was like, "You have to go. Like, you're gonna regret not going. You should go." Like, and I initially booked it for like 8 days. She's like, "That's too short. You're going all that way. Like, you should go for 2 weeks."
Vanessa said that to me about America. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do in America on my own? She's like, "You're fine, man." Yeah.
And that is a huge thing when your partner appreciates and sees what you put in and day out and pushes you to take a holiday, to take a plunge, to take a risk. I remember having the conversation with Sarah saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing." And, it's really easy. And I wouldn't have faulted her to go, "Hey, that's our biggest income. Are you sure?" Like, we've got like house renovations and we've got 2 kids in daycare. Our daycare bill is like $4,000 a month on its own. Are you sure it's time? And she was like, "I think you're ready. I think you should. What's the worst that can happen? Doesn't work out, you go back to corporate. Do it. I'm ready. Like, let's do this." And that's what she said to me. And so I think, having that is really critical, because otherwise you have this sense of guilt and pressure that, "Oh my God, what about if I'm not providing for my family?" And so I think, everything that I was doing before leaving corporate, I couldn't have done without her. And I think I was getting a lot of the pats on the back, because people saw, first thing that people would say to me, or not say them, is like, "Man, how are you doing what you're doing? I see you're at TikTok, then you're like in another country, then you're back and you're creating content, and then you're on a podcast, you start on a podcast, and then how are you doing all of that? And then you're like with your kids on the weekend, blah, blah, blah." And I'd be like, not very easily, but I'd get all the attention and praise and applause. But Sarah was in the background doing the hard work of the day-to-day stuff with our kids that is just relentless.
It's the steel in the walls. It's the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Without it, you're the beautiful house, right? Doing like all the flashy stuff, but infrastructure was Sarah that was holding it together.
When she goes away and I'm taking care of the kids, I'm like preparing for war.
Right.
Like, I think about it weeks in advance. I start preparing things. When I go away, like I said to her the other day, I said, me going away for 2 weeks to you in a week's time, no notice, like, it's nothing. She's like, "It's like another day." Like, it's fine. Whereas if she told me she's going away for 2 weeks, I think I'd have an anxiety attack. Like, "Oh my God, how am I going to do this for 2 weeks?" And you talk about partnerships. I think your partner and you have to have a partnership. And I think, Sarah and I are really different in probably good ways. I always say that if she was like me, we'd be divorced. Yeah. Because we'd have 2 really high performing, highly like, I don't know what it's the right word, like highly strung people that would clash. And if we're both like her, we would be homeless, right? Because she's got no structure in her day. She's very airy-fairy.
You told me a story about like the bat spills like that.
Don't get me started. There's another one recently.
No.
I'm trying to see if I should share this story fully. No, I will share. I'm going to share a shortened version of it, because this happened just this week. When I left corporate, previous to me leaving corporate, because I had a individual salary and then she had her salary, we kind of kept our finances separate, and then we obviously put our money into one savings account. But we didn't. She handled her taxes, I handled my taxes, because she was a small business owner. Once I left my corporate role, it made sense to start a family trust and have a business, because we're now both self-employed. Yeah. So we did that. As part of that process, we had everything going through one account. So through Xero and the editing software, it was all tracked, and we could kind of easily go through, and I do all of that stuff. And once a month, I reconcile our accounts, what was business, what was personal spending, So I had this really proper chat with her about anything that you spend needs to go through this account, otherwise it doesn't exist, right? If you need to pay a tradie that's come in, cool. You need to pay the guy who does our lawns, whatever it might be, that's fine. You can pay him in cash if needed. but we need to transfer out of the account and seat in there so we can track that expense.
Yep.
Anyway, tells me the other day that she's, hey, I just so you know, I've been paying the lawnmower guy, and I've had to pay a few things. I paid one tradie. I paid cleaner. I got the car. I said, cool. Just can you tell me by the end of the month like what it is, and I'll reconcile it and make sure. She had like, we've got this account that we've got all our tax money in that we put aside to pay tax.
Yeah.
And she'd been taking out of that account to pay for something. You don't want to know how much she told me that she'd spent over the time. She said, I need to go back to May last year. May last year.
Yeah.
And she had to go through and look at every transaction she had made from the other account that I haven't been tracking as an expense this whole time. I'm doing all our profit and loss every single month. And meanwhile, she's spending on the side through this fund that she feels is like this endless spine to actually put aside to pay tax, right? And she's just been spending it on all this, she hasn't been shopping or anything. It's in all like household stuff and stuff. But like, I haven't been tracking it as expense. Anyway, it was a lot of money. I'm going to say, a lot. Okay. And so I was losing my mind the other day, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say to you. So like, we have our roles and what we're good at, and some are, your people, I'd say traditional roles, and some aren't. Like Sarah, if there's DIY to do around a house, Sarah's way more DIY than I am. She's the daughter of a panel leader. She's like gyprocked our walls before and all these things that I just could never do. Anything handy, she's way handier than I am. I planned our wedding, which is usually like the kind of the female stereotype role. I planned the whole wedding. I hope Sarah designed a wedding dress. But then when it comes to the finances, I'm definitely the one who's really does. Ganaya's got all the spreadsheets and all of that. She does a lot of the cooking. Cooking's one thing that neither of us enjoyed before we got married. She's just marginally better than I am. I'll probably kill us. I struggle with just to like crack an egg.
You're just a mackerels guy. Get the mackerels can now with some rice.
That's it. Mackerel can, some rice. I'm very like, she's always like, you're not a very fussy eater. I'm blessed because I'm not a great cook. Yeah. I'm like, I just want my protein and veg up as you can.
Yeah, man. I love that. Man, look, let's dial this in now for someone maybe listening in corporate. Maybe they got like a little bit of a side hustle going, or maybe they are thinking like, I know there's something more out there for me, but I don't even know how to take this plunge. Like, what's something that they could do maybe today? Ask themselves, sit down for an hour and just go like, could this be the move for me? Let me ask myself some questions. Like, what could be something that they could do today to kind of get an answer for themselves, whether they want to get out of corporate or whether there could be something else down the line for them?
The first thing would be is, can you survive 6 months with $0? Can you get through it? If whatever your side hustle is doesn't make money for the next 6 months, can you survive? And I think unless you've got a minimum, I'm saying minimum 6 months, ideally you'd want 12. If you don't have 6 months worth of your expenses saved up, I wouldn't do it.
And like having that safety net too.
Unless the side hustle is raking in some really decent coin already, then yeah, cool. But you need a safety net. Obviously, it depends on what that safety net depends on how much your expenses are. Your safety net's really different to someone else's who's a single person who's 22 years old, no mortgage, no kick, all those sorts of things.
It's applicable to you and your...
Yeah, so whatever your safety net is, but understand what it is. Do some proper accounting for yourself. At least 6 months behind what you spend a month.
So you mean like create like a bit of a budget?
Yeah.
Understand what you've spent and then budget it out.
Prior to me going out on my own, I never looked at that. I knew, regardless of what Sarah earned, what I earned through my side hustles and TV stuff, I could pay all my bills on a corporate salary. So I never needed to. I knew what I was getting. Corporate salary, same thing every month, plus bonuses and whatnot. So I always budgeted myself on my base salary. I earned no commission, no bonuses, no nothing. And so I always did that, but it wasn't until I needed to leave. I was like, how much do we spend a month as a family? I have no idea. And you go do that calculation, you're like, okay, that's actually probably more than I thought, right? Once you put everything together. So I went and looked at the last 12 months, salary minus expenses. I thought, okay, I said to my manager still my current manager, my manager said, hey, this is where I think we need to get to as a household income, right, for me to leave work. And we had a discussion 6 months prior to when I actually left work. We said, okay, we set a goal.
Yeah.
And so I didn't just leave overnight. No, we kind of got close to that goal. And I thought, you know what, this is the right time, because even though we're not quite at that goal yet, I've got savings. I feel like I can survive for a few months. I feel like I need to make myself uncomfortable to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Because whilst I'm doing all this, I'm not going to double the time I spent creating content.
Can I just call, yeah, so just 3 things I've captured there. Write it down, do it straight after this podcast. Number 1, sit down and actually plan out or go back and look at what your expenses have been and what your income is over the last 12 months. Get a bit of a budget together and understand what you would need to create as a bit of a ramp up in terms of like savings over the next 6 or 12 months. Number 2 is like set a goal. So like set a trigger, essentially. Like how much would your side hustle or whatever you're trying to go into need to earn you for you to make that decision to go, I'm ready. Maybe like 80% of it would be a good enough time to make that decision, which is probably what you did. Maybe you were within 80% of that goal that you set with your manager.
Yeah.
And then the last one is be okay with getting a little bit uncomfortable, because that's where you're going to find those opportunities and get the growth feel out of it.
And understand by the time the time that you get back from quitting the day gig, what you need to know what you're going to do with that time.
Man, I'm going through that right now. Like I'm stepping off the gym floor a little bit, and with that comes an identity shift as well. I was the man. Frontline's built around me, everything. But for it to grow, I can't be the man. I can't be the guy on the floor. So that with that comes an identity shift and also your fucking roles and responsibilities shift. So you can't get that time back and think you're sitting on the lounge. I mean, you can because you're still earning money on the low. I can't, right? So I need to use that time to do other things, and it's usually money-making tasks, leads, content, stuff like that. So you're right there. Listen in on that one.
And you don't need to have it all figured out. It's not day one you're going to figure out, go, okay, you will figure it out. But if you go into the day and no plan, get to your first week and you're now unemployed, waiting for yourself, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do today? I might go here and go see my mum, and before you know it, it's been 3 weeks and you spend 3 hours working. You need to have that, set the right boundaries, set the right things to, then after you're in a comfort zone and you kind of understand, okay, I'm putting in the work in my own way, then you can start to go, okay, well, I've got more flexibility here. Now, I'm still trying to let myself do things within business hours. Like it took,
What do you say things? What do you mean by that?
like I would feel bad if I went to the gym at 10 to 11:30. I'd be like,
I could have used that time to do something else.
yeah, like I'm in the middle of the day. It's 10 to 11:30. I should be working.
Yeah.
I've been working at that time for 18 years.
Yeah.
So it really, but then I'll be like, I'm working at the clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, filming content, 10 o'clock at night, writing it. I'm like, why am I feeling bad about taking an hour and a half for the gym at 10 when I'm working over here? Like it's so inbuilt in me to be working for someone else, that working for yourself whilst you never stop working, you also got that flexibility. And you hear a lot from business owners, right, who have, big or small businesses. When you work, people think they're going to leave their corporate job to have some work-life balance, right? And it's not the case. You will go to work harder than you ever worked when you worked for someone else, when it's your own thing.
Yeah.
But I will say that it is not the same. It's not me doing emails for TikTok at 11 p.m. at night, which would make my insides burn because I hadn't been there since 8 a.m. that morning and I haven't seen my family that day and I've done that, is very different to doing it for yourself. And that drive and that hunger means that you're always working, but you're also never working. And so, understanding that you're going to have flexibility, but know what you need to do in that time. Set your goals, start to strategize before you leave your job around how you're going to fill that time. What are the 5 key things to success? What is your roadmap? And so you have that before. You can do that before. That doesn't take time. Have some quiet time to strategize. Get it on a piece of paper, get it somewhere. Get it in your phone, wherever you lost that and you know it's. Oh, I love getting stuff out of my head. I always tell people, I've talked about this in the past. I know I've talked about it with you. I set goals twice a year.
Yep.
I'm not a huge goal setter. Like I find, there's a lot of people like weekly goals and I'm I'm overly organized.
Here I am sitting here, set up Sundays every Sunday. Once you
Set up sign, right? That I don't like that so much, right? But each year you got to find what works for you. But I set goals twice a year. I set them at the start of the year. I then might revise them a few days later as I think about more things. Then it's locked.
Yep.
I don't touch them again. Halfway through the year, I revisit them. I can't even remember what I wrote in January, right?
Well, come on, get your phone out because I want to talk to you about your goals now. So I want to know what's coming up for you by the end of this year.
I'm breaking my own rule here because I don't actually open it. But
we have.
Let's see. I'm going to tell you when.
So I want to know what's on the horizon for Matty towards the back.
So the last time, just so you can see, the last time I opened these notes was on the 19th of January.
There you go.
So I'm going to
We ticked any of them off yet?
I don't tick them off until mid-year. So come July 1st, I'll jump back in. I'll look at the ones.
Yeah.
I'll add the ones I didn't even add in here that I've ticked off that I didn't even set for myself at the start, right? Tick them off. Orange, they're in progress. Green, they're done. Red, they're off track, right? And it's not a reward system. It's not a punishment system. It's just getting things out of your head onto a piece of paper for me is so incredible at relieving stress because once it becomes murky in your head and you've got 100 things running around in there and you can't think about what it all was. For me, weeks go by like that. And the project that I started, I'm like, oh my God, I have not even touched it.
Yeah.
Because I go through times where I'm every day, event, speaking, filming, doing, and then time's gone. And so getting it out on piece of paper for me to revisit, I have a to-do list that I have every week that I don't, it's fluid. I just jump in at any time, add to it, remove to it. I've got a top part of that to-do section, which is kind of like my priority stuff I need to do. But my goal's twice a year. And so in July, I'll go do it. And then I'll look at it again when I'm back in the January, again, when I go to make my next ones. Okay, what did I do? What did I achieve? The ones that are off track, am I bringing them into the new year or am I just getting rid of them because they're no longer a priority?
Yeah, gotcha.
And so, and you realize it's also very self-gratifying for someone like me who I feel I'm very, really critical of myself. I look back and go, holy shit, I did do a lot. Yeah. Way more than I thought I did.
But see, that's you're just biased to action though. Like you're just doing action every week, and all of a sudden you're just ticking things off. So I love that. For me, it's always about triggering my goals 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Because I believe what you frequently see is your frequency.
Yep.
Okay. So, and that's just what I believe in. That's why I don't watch the news because I don't want negative shit. I try to get all that away from me and I keep positive stuff around me in my circle of influence. But so Thomas, man, like what's next for you? Like, are you doing anything over the next 6 to 12 months? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so I keep talking about new revenue streams. I think now that I see I'm 100% working for myself, I see myself as the business and how to open up new streams. So I've had 2 seasons of our Dads and Dogs podcast.
Yeah.
As
And I was listening to that pretty religiously, man, when I was having my first. So yeah, it helped me a lot.
Man, I know I'm obviously biased. It's my podcast with Adam, but if that podcast existed when I knew I was going to become a dad, it would have helped me. Men aren't very good at researching or preparing to become a dad, and then it hits them all at once, and often when it's too late. And we have a really casual podcast that just helps you very easily to be 100% more prepared. So, little plug for Dads and the Dogs. I definitely want to do more in the podcasting and audio space as well. I'm in the process of kind of coming up with a new concept, not parenting related, in that space. So
I'm feeling it's sport related. But anyways, we won't go down that route.
No. Someone tell you it's like no. It can be, but it won't be like around sport. No. As much as I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. I could sit there and talk about my teams and a lot of sports for a long time.
Talk about the Dragons. Kicker.
Also working on an e-commerce concept as well. I feel like I've got a itch to scratch in that space. When I was earlier on, before I started at TikTok, Sarah and I had a e-com site.
Yeah, Today Kids? Tomorrow Kids,
TMRW. And I learnt so much. I was doing it again. Like, it was one of those things people like, how the hell did you fit that in? But it was when we were in COVID, lockdown, and all of a sudden I was working from home every day, didn't have the commute into work, I felt like I got all this time back. I was like, I'm not going to waste this. I want to learn something new. So I learnt Shopify. I created this brand. Then when I decided to take the gig at TikTok, I knew it was going to be too much. And then Sarah took over the business. And then Sarah got pregnant with our second. We had got to a crossroads. It was like, we either need to go all in on this thing and not make it a side hustle, make it a full-time thing, or not. And at the time, I wanted to take the TikTok role. I knew I couldn't do that. So we stopped it. But from this thing that we did in our spare time as a side hustle, if you saw some of the numbers we did in that time was incredible. And the idea around, and I'm not going to start a business similar to this, but I did learn a lot from it. That business there's a lot of amazing local Australian kids brands, and we loved them, but we found it really difficult to navigate them all. Some friends went for this, some you just didn't know about them, and there's hundreds of them, and they're like incredible brands, but you just don't know about them. So we wanted to be an aggregator of those, become the iconic, but for local Australian kids brands. And so we had all these amazing brands on the site. And then we started to create our own label within that as well, and saw that within there. And so, yeah, I got an itch trail. I found it really rewarding to be in the e-com space. For me now, I know I need to, if I want to go further, I can't do it alone. And I think,
What about that?
there you go. So I need, my biggest constraint is time. I know that now. I can't be everywhere, everyone. So I need a partner in a lot of these things. So everything that I'm doing, I look for partners that can help me. And then I know where I can bring to the equation, and I look for partners who can help me with what they can bring to the equation. And so hopefully getting something set up in that space as well. They're kind of the two big ones I want to kind of get going before anything else. I've been doing strategic advisory for a couple of businesses and investing in a couple of businesses too. So they're more hands off now, but I've enjoyed that space as well. So yeah, that's kind of it.
That's cool, man. That's cool. There's so much on the horizon. I'm pumped for it. I'll always hear it firsthand as well in the gym. So, and I ask you a lot of questions. So, where can actually people find you? Are you more on Instagram, TikTok? Like, where do you want people to actually find you? Because I know your followers have gone up since you've actually made this transition by about 12,000.
Yeah.
So
That was one of my goals.
yeah,
Right. To do that, put in the work, because whilst I had this following before content, well, it wasn't my priority. It was actually like the last thing that I thought of in the day. I'd get home from a long day at work, I'd be out cooking, I'll go, God, I need to post something.
yeah. I was really reactive versus proactive.
Yeah, I was lucky to post 3 or 4 videos a week. Right now I'm posting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a week. And so, and I'm posting on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like just being more intentional is definitely paying off in that space. But yeah, well, sorry, what was your question?
Just where can people find
Oh,
brands
right.
or moment?
I'd say in terms of like the social side of things, as I said, probably Instagram, where there's I'm definitely more engaged on DMs and comments and stories and that sort of thing. My content can be found both on Instagram at Matty_EF and on TikTok with the same name. Yeah. Both have, sometimes I post a piece of content exclusively first on TikTok, sometimes on Instagram. So it's worth following both because, yeah, you'll see stuff before other people on one platform the other. YouTube Shorts I've only just started, so that's in its infancy, and obviously on Facebook as well, which is growing. I don't know if you've seen Facebook recently, but Facebook now has become kind of like a public platform where you have followers in the same way as Instagram. But for any content creators out there, they're actually now starting to pay for content creators on views and engagement
on Facebook.
So it's kind of like,
But it's not bringing the same content over from Instagram. You're deliberately posting on Facebook.
no, it's the same content. So it's the same post, just linked as long as you page. Yeah, it's a page. So it's Matty Fahd in the same way that it is on Instagram, but it's a public page where people can follow you. It's no longer just a closed network of your friends anymore. You can have friends, but your followers and your friends are different.
Right. So is this your actual Facebook page, or you've created another one?
My actual one, the one that I've had since I was, I don't know.
And they can see all your all your photos from like 2016 when you were party boy?
They could if they wanted to, but I kind of don't have. I've got all my old evidences. So you can put all your older albums on lock. So I've got Suck all the way from 2016, which are all on private.
That's cool, man. All right, sick. Well, look, man, I'll leave you with one question I'd love you to answer for someone that's listening. If someone's listening right now, like I mentioned to you, they're at the point now where they want to make a turning point. What's just one message you want to leave with them? Maybe they're like about to quit and they're about to hit that moment of hitting a turning point. What would you tell that person to do right now?
I'm going to leave you more with a concept about how to think about this moment in time. And in general, that has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 words: positive stress.
Positive stress.
Yeah. Have you heard about positive stress?
Well, I mean, not all stress is made equal, but no, I haven't. Great.
A lot of people think, stress is linked to every disease in the world, to the cardiovascular disease, to cancers. And actually, it's not stress itself that causes those things. There are links between them, but it's not the stress that's causing it. It's how you think about stress.
Mm.
And if you think about stress as a bad thing, then yes, it does link to a lot of diseases and causes a lot of grief. And I think about stress as a positive thing because stress in most instances is a positive thing that helps you get through. I used to think before I hopped on stage in front of 1,000 people to do a keynote talk that my nerves and my hand shaking was a bad thing. Now when I'm like that, I remember getting up. It was a very big room with a lot of people, and I had no notes, no fallback. I had to get up there and deliver a thing word for word on a script, that a 10 to 12 minute talk, right? So I remember thinking, shit, I'm nervous. Before then, my heart was beating out of my chest, but I'd been there before, and I went, that feeling right now is what's going to bring you energy up on that stage and get you through this. You've done that before. This is positive stress. Let's go fucking do it.
Yeah, mad, love that.
And I got up there and I just enjoyed it. And I take that with me to every public speaking thing now, where I'm just like, before that feeling would be like, why am I nervous? Why is my heart beating out of my chest? That's not right. I'm stressed. What's going on? And the way you think about it changes everything. So for me, I know that in life, relationship, work, the stresses that come from all of these things are because I've got the privilege to be able to come into work every day, the privilege to stand up on a stage, privilege to be on a podcast talking about something, the privilege to have a wife that I can fight with, the privilege to have kids that can be really difficult to take care of. These are all privileges. So that's the positive stress. The only stress, and you know this about me, that I think of in my life that is negative is my health.
Yep.
Only time you will see me down and depressed is I'm at home sick because stuck in bed because I feel like crap.
Yeah.
That is really the only negative stress in my life. So when I think about my life, everything else is positive, and it's always positive. My health is the number one.
I love that, man. It's almost like I get to versus I have to, right?
Yep.
Love that, brother. Thank you so much for being my first guest
Yo.
on the Turning Flame.